I think that there's obviously a lot of reasons why the creator economy is scaling and growing as it is. You kind of mentioned audience building being the highest leverage activity that you could possibly do. Why do you think that? And how do you contextualize the time spent or resources spent on organic audience building versus the million other things that you could be doing as a startup marketer?
Yeah, I mean, it's a generalized statement. Obviously, I'd also like one of my friends. She saw some of my posts promoting our course, and she's like, "Oh God, should I be posting on LinkedIn? I feel bad that I'm not." I'm like, "Your business is going to do like $4 million this year at like a 40% profit margin, and your problem is that you're working until 3 a.m. every night. So it's like you don't need to add writing content for your LinkedIn when you don't need more leads. You like literally couldn't handle any more leads. You need to spend all of your time just like getting yourself out of the like hiring people, improving the process so you're not staying up until 3 in the morning. So it's different for different people, but overall, I'd say it's one of the highest leverage activities in that. And the more people know my name, the more likely that when I send an email on behalf of the company, that people are going to open it. So that's one. If we want to do cold outreach, it's the best cold email is a warm email. If they already know my name or they've liked one of my content or we've DM'd before, then they're way more likely to respond. Like I like to say, if Joe Rogan emailed you, he could literally ask for anything and you would still respond because you're like, holy shit, this is Joe Rogan. Um, so, and, most people probably aren't building a startup to do it until they're 65 and to retire. Like people generally have multiple businesses. Uh, so when you build it under your own personal audience, it's like, great, I've sold, I've moved on from Demand Curve. I'm starting this other business. I still have this audience. People still know me. When I announce it, when I try to raise money, it's just so much easier. So, um, and like so much of a startup is just like relationships, meeting the right people. And it's like when you have that audience and you're attracting people to you, it's just so much easier to do that. So, um, I think it's extremely high leverage. Obviously, it depends on whether you have the time or if that's like what you should be doing right now. But I think ultimately, it's something that people should be doing at some point of their entrepreneurship career.
For sure. There's obviously different types of leverage for a brand to be doing it versus a creator. Um, I was mentioning earlier the way that I kind of view this podcast, efficient spend, is that we have marketing spend on one end being an input into a machine that we deploy to output compounding revenue, right? And um, I spend most of my day thinking about how to do that with media spend and a media mix, paid social, paid search, et cetera. Um, but a similar perspective can be made for organic content. It's time spent that a brand needs to do to create the content, but it's also spend on influencers and resources and things like that. How do you think about that dynamic?
Yeah, I mean it's definitely it's a very like long term thing. It's like you could argue the amount of time or resources or whatever that's going to my LinkedIn. It's like maybe we'd just run ads and we'd actually make more money right today. Um, the the beauty is that it's kind of like SEO content. Like it's a thing that builds over time. Whereas ads, like you turn the ads off, it's like sure there's more people that have purchased in the past and they might be repeat purchases, but as soon as the ads are off, like it's gone, right? Um, so, and I would argue that if you spend more time building your organic presence, then your ads were going to be more effective, right? Like if I got an ad for Airbnb, I'd be more likely to act on that than if I got an ad from one of Airbnb's competitors that I haven't heard of before, right? So, um, or if the ad had Brian Chesky in it, I know who Brian Chesky is, and I don't know the founder of VRBO. VRBO's founder could be in there, and I'd have no idea, and it wouldn't do anything to me. So um, I think in terms of like efficient spend, it's like I, I think the more attention, everything you can drive to either yourself or your business organically, the more efficient all of your other marketing activities are going to be. And like I think that's kind of the benefit of brand in general is that if you have a better brand, it's just easier to close things. And it's like your CAC might just be lower just because people are more likely to trust you. Right. So
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I think what you realize when you have a really good organic presence and you're a more scaled startup is that uh, the CPAs that you're getting on Facebook and other platforms, the attributed CPAs, are not actually completely incremental, and a
yeah.
large portion of that is should be attributed to the organic audience that you're building.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's kind of funny. I live in Victoria in Canada. And coincidentally, there's somebody else here that runs very similar business in that they have essentially like a media business in a way and a marketing agency. So the newsletter is called D2C, direct to consumer, and the agency is called Pilot House. And it's interesting because they've taken the complete opposite approach that we have. Like we've barely ever run ads. Like we've gotten 86,000 newsletter subscribers, basically all organic, just from us putting content out, throwing events, having a Slack community, things like that. Whereas they're a paid media agency. When they started the newsletter, they took 300 grand of their marketing budget and just like ran ads to grow, start bootstrap the newsletter, and that's all of their growth. It's just like the arbitrage of them running ads, putting in sponsors, and then extracting some more value through their agency. And it's funny because if you ask the average marketer, I think they're more likely to have heard of us and to think that we're probably bigger than them, even though I think they have like 200,000 subscribers and like their agency's 150 plus people. But it's like an ad is sort of like a private experience. You open up Facebook and you see it and you click on it, you sub. Whereas like organic, there's just naturally the only way it happens is if people are like talking about it. So it makes it seem like it's larger. Um, but my argument, I think if we were to run ads, I would hopefully assume that we could get like a lower CPA than they could just because of that organic growth. So
Yeah. I also, I mean, as someone with a lot more experience in paid media that is starting to play around with the content game a little bit, it's a lot harder and a lot more frustrating too. With a paid ad, I can pretty much guarantee a result with a specific methodology
right.
to a certain extent. But with organic content, you could spend 2 hours trying to craft the perfect LinkedIn message and then you get crickets, and that can be demoralizing for sure.
And you that could happen for literally months. Like one of our students that went through our course, Alex Smith, he's a he's a strategist for consumer brands. Um, and like he's I don't know, in his 40s maybe. He's great writer. And when he started, his LinkedIn literally had like 500 followers, and he was posting for God months. And we like celebrated when he finally hit 1,000. And then he created a post that got over 8,000 likes, and he went to 22,000 followers. And then he hit 30,000 followers by like the end of the week. So um, it was I don't know if you've seen Jack Butcher's like graph where it's just like flat, 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 and then there's like an arrow saying this is pointless, and then right after it, it goes. That is like basically Alex Smith's story to a T, and then it's like literally nothing, and then everything all at once. Um, so it's yeah, it can be quite demoralizing to spend because to be writing content as a founder, like you're already busy, you're probably doing this in your evenings or weekends a lot of the time, like I was. I'd spend a Saturday making 2 carousels or something. And then if you do it and nobody likes it, then you're just like, it's really hard to convince yourself to keep doing it. So um, it is hard. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. It just kind of reminds me of like the importance of compounding and investing the time and even I'm really into the financial independence retire early movement. I read a lot about investing and like the S&P 500 for example. If you're investing into your 401k, you're actually not going to get the compounding returns for it's like the last 10 years are where you see all of that growth, so you just gotta wait it out basically.
Oh, it's if you look at Warren Buffett's like net worth over his, I don't know, 60-year investing career, it's all in the last 10, 15, 20 years.
For
Um,
sure.
that's where he got 99.9% of his $80 billion, where the hell it is. So, um,
Crazy. Yeah, I actually have a note on my desk, like a note, Brick by Boring Brick by Paramore, which is just like that consistent little small actions that compound. And not only for marketing and investing, but habits, exercise, literally everything.
I think it's especially for audience building, like content creation, like it's so much easier for me now, just in the fact that I already have like a bank of 200 plus posts that I've created that I can either reuse entirely, that I can rework, or I have like a whole bunch of templates in Figma that I can just like, okay, just copy paste some words in. I don't have to come up with a design anymore. Um, and now that I'm at this point too, I can just like have somebody on my team where it's like, hey, I wrote something in the newsletter, or we have something on our website, or I created this on Twitter. Can you just like convert this into something for LinkedIn using the templates and everything that I had created? So then I just go in there and I edit it at the end. So I'm not doing like the 4 hours of Figma work. I'm just going in and like 30 minutes of editing before I post it. So like it's so much easier today than it was. Um, and yeah, it's like the compounding of now people just like tag me. Like yesterday, somebody tagged me. And I probably got several hundred followers just from them like suggesting me as somebody to follow. And somebody just starting out, like it might take you 2 months to get several hundred followers, right?